All right, guys.
All right.
Call this to order. It's 6:01, the finance meeting on the 13th. Jenny, roll call.
Ben,
Here.
Matt,
Here.
Tammy.
Here.
All right, any citizens out there?
I have nothing from anybody.
Okay. All right, I need acceptance of the minutes for the December finance meeting. Anybody got any questions about it?
Hey, Ben, did you get the agenda that I sent out later this afternoon? I sent a changed one that, because we have to nominate a chair.
Yeah,
Before we start
I
the
got it,
rest
but I got the wrong one up on the screen right here. So we got to have a new nomination for chair. I'll take it if no one else wants it.
Sorry. You're muted.
I'd like to nominate Tammy. Sorry.
I'll take it, Ben, if you don't want it.
It's up to you, Tammy.
I'll take it, Ben.
All right. You
Thank
want me
you.
to go ahead and conduct this meeting, or you want to wait for the next one?
Let me call the vote. The way we do this is I'll say your name and you say who you vote for. Ben,
Ben,
Matt,
Tammy.
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 All right.
there you go.
All right.
You want me to carry this meeting on, Tammy, or you want to?
I don't, does it matter? I can take over, Ben, if you want.
Go ahead.
All right.
Have at it.
All right. Do we have any citizens out there, Michelle?
I have nothing from anybody. Thank you.
Okay. Can we make a motion to accept the minutes for December?
Make
And
a
if we got-
motion.
I'll second. All in favor?
Ah,
Aye.
Aye.
Moving on. All right. Financial reports, Jenny?
Okay. I was hoping to have the numbers for what was left in the water and sewer fund, but there's just a few things up in the air as far as the utilities. All the withholdings are paid and things like that. Our fund status, right now we're looking pretty good considering what the last year was like. I think, we came out of it pretty well compared to how a lot of other communities might be doing. We paid our last big debt payments in December. So it was kind of nice to do that for the last time, I guess. Everybody got the credit card report. So if you have any questions on that, but I think it was mostly pretty normal stuff. We still have a few things on the coronavirus list that we haven't paid for yet. Maybe they haven't come in. Revenue status, I had to clean up a little bit, like the reservoir rehab project that we had money in there for that, and then that never happened. So otherwise we would have been at like 30% for the year, and that looks really bad on our year-end filings. So anyway, we came in pretty close to 100% on most things. There were a couple that were a little bit below that, but for the most part, I think we did okay. The street, state highway, permissive, the ones that were affected by the loss of license tax, we did see that we didn't meet our goal there, but I think eventually that money is going to show up. I mean, you have to get your license plates, right? We did really well on the appropriations. The bank reconciliation, there was one adjustment of $300.10. And the 10 cents was, I entered something at 90 cents and it should have been 80. It just didn't print really well. So I fixed that. And the $300 was just a basic math error from Marianne. And other than that, we did really well.
Wonderful.
Anybody have any questions?
All right. Anybody?
Questions? I would just say that, with my limited experience on this committee, all things considered, I would agree that we're in pretty good shape, just based on what I see here.
Yeah. Yep. I agree.
All right. Anybody else? Ben, you got anything?
no, not a thing.
Anybody want to make a motion to move the financial reports to council?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Ah,
Aye. All right. All right, bill, bills of resolution? Jenny? Anything else?
There were, a couple of big charges on there, but I think what happened was we found out that we could use $60,000 of the CARES Act money for the police wages and benefits. So we made some larger purchases in the police department, like they bought new radios that they badly needed and things like that. So you might see a
But-
couple,
They don't have them in the coronavirus fund?
well, they can't pay for them out of the coronavirus fund, but they can pay their wages.
Okay.
So,
Okay. And then we talked about before the meeting started about the advanced industries, the drilling for the water lines and the Trumbull Industries.
right.
for the
I
water.
have those checks here. We have a bunch of small bills coming in from Trumbull Industries, but not the whole amount yet. And then the advanced industries, I don't know where they are with that, but the check is cut. We had to do that out of our own money. And so we cut that check before the end of the year. But I'll hold on to it until it's done, and whoever the village administrator approves it, then we can pay them.
And anybody have anything else? All right,
I-
motion to move to council?
So moved.
second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Ah,
Aye.
Aye.
All right, review of legislation. All right, so ordinance 2021-01, first one of the year. An ordinance authorizing renewal of an agreement with the Mantua Potato Festival, setting forth conditions for the use of the old water plant at Bookert Park. This is for the first reading. Anybody have questions about this?
no, I don't.
This is something we do every 10 years, Mayor?
About that, yeah.
No.
About that. The only comment that I would add is, after last week, we added a, well, I guess, provision in there that caps a potential repair that needs to be made at the building in question at $15,000. Was a concern that was brought up by them. So we added that at their request.
That seems reasonable, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's what we thought.
Okay. Okay. Any other discussions? No? All right, next one. Ordinance 2021-02, an ordinance amending chapter 921 of the Streets, Utilities, and Public Services Code of the Village of Mantua relating to control and operation of the Village of Mantua water utility and declaring an emergency. Michelle, will we have to have a public hearing on these? You're on mute.
I know. I
Okay.
was trying to make this my active window. No, we don't have to have public hearings. So
On
these are
any of these?
just, no,
Amended. Okay,
none of them. Nope.
that was my only question, all these three. All right, any questions? All right, let's go on to the next one. 2021-03, an ordinance amending chapter 931 of the Streets, Utilities, and Public Service Code of the Village of Mantua relating to control and operations of the Village of Mantua water waste utility and declaring an emergency.
This is just 2 of 3.
Yes, this is 2 of 3. Anything, Ben?
No, I have
All right.
not.
We'll go to the next one. Ordinance 2021-04, an ordinance amending chapter 941 of the Streets, Utilities, and Public Service Code of the Village of Mantua relating to control and operations of the Village of Mantua water, wastewater, storm sewer systems, and declaring an emergency. 3 of 3.
I got a quick question for Michelle. I knew that we were doing it, that the county was gonna take the water system and the wastewater system. I didn't really know that they're gonna take over the stormwater too.
No, they're not. Chapter 941 had provisions relating to water and wastewater and storm. So what I did is I took out all the water and all the wastewater, and I just put in some generic provisions about storm sewers because we do retain control of those.
That's what I thought, okay.
Yep.
That's good. I understand.
Excuse me.
Okay.
All right, anything else?
Nope.
We're moving along. We're doing Ben's fast-paced meeting, right? Ordinance,
I just have one comment. Do we want to skip to 08 while Michelle's still here?
we can.
Yeah,
All right. Let's go to 2021-08, an ordinance authorizing a contract with the Portage County Public Defender for defense of indigent persons charged with criminal offense under the village ordinance and declaring an emergency.
We do this every year.
We do this every year.
Yeah.
okay,
Keeping.
Yeah.
okay, I wasn't sure.
And we almost, I would say, almost never, ever, ever does the public defender get involved in any of our village way cases because we don't charge anything that's a jailable offense. So like traffic tickets, the public defender can't defend people anyway, unless it's like a DUI or something. So we almost, I don't know if we've ever had to pay on this. You could, Jenny, once we have in history.
Once since 2008.
Okay, so yeah, it's not, we have it, but we don't usually.
Back then it was $80. Now it's up to, I think, 150 or 125.
150, yep.
Okay, just so I understand what's going on here. They're saying that if someone that doesn't have a or it needs a public defender, based on them violating one of our ordinances, we have to pay $150 per instance of that.
Yep.
If I read that correctly, okay.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Do we have any other Michelle-related topics that we want to cover real quick?
I don't have any. I don't think these other ones don't relate.
Yeah, okay, cool. Just making sure.
No, thanks.
The only thing is, which ones didn't go to service? Okay, so actually you're gonna have to make a motion because this one hasn't been before committee and 07 hasn't been before committee. And what's 06? Mark Hammer
Okay,
hasn't been before committee.
okay.
What's 05?
05 is village administrator.
Has not been before. Did we do that at committee?
We did it at service.
We did
Oh,
it
okay,
at
so service did recommend it. So, okay, so those other three do need to be recommended to council, but the first 5 do not.
Okay, so since we're talking about 2021-08, can I get a motion to move it to council?
So moved.
Second,
Done. There you go, Michelle. Okay, so now we're gonna go back up to,
do we have to vote on that? Aye.
Yes.
aye, all in favor? Aye, thank you.
Ah,
New person. Okay. Okay, ordinance 2021-05. An ordinance amending section 133.02 of the codified ordinance of the village of Mantua relating to the powers and duties of the village administrator, amending the job description for that position and declaring an emergency. Any questions?
We need to add some things to this, though. I mean, this is like a one-shot thing. If we hire somebody that's going to stay, I think we should consider adding some grant work, maybe to the language here. I mean, some of the grants that we apply for might be more simpler than we realize. I don't know. I just think maybe we should think about that, maybe doing some things that are going to better the community instead of somebody that just is filling a space, you know? Like, what do we really need?
I'll say this myself. I've read this thing 3 times. And I'm gonna read it a couple of more times, but I'll probably have something to say about it for council because there's a couple of things I'm not sure that I agree with. But I'm not gonna get into it now. I want to think about it more.
Well, if you guys come up with anything, let me know. And we'll talk about it at council. So thank you.
Yeah.
Jenny, I can't disagree with you, but I think part of just again, me learning how things work around here, that is, I didn't realize that there was a lot of work involved with applying for some of these grants. You know, so maybe can somebody just break it down real quick and exactly what is involved with applying for some of these grants, just so we're all a little more educated on it?
You got to answer all the questions on the grant, and then you got to give explanation for it. And your explanation for it has got to be backed up with reality. I mean, you just can't make stuff up. You got to, when you write things, there's a part down there that you have to write this, and this as the reason why, and it's got to be right. It can't be funny, because the people that looks at those grants, and I know most of them, they've been at it so long that they know when it's not right. You got to be able to back up what you're saying. That's the biggest important part.
Yeah, so a lot of times CT does the grant work for us, right?
Right.
So,
I
is
think
there
they do
that much?
all of the grant work for us.
Yeah.
Some of
So,
those
but
grants
is
are
there,
hard.
are the grant applications that involved where we need that level of precision in engineering in order to?
Some
Yeah.
of them, yes. But
Some
like
of them,
the
but
Booker
some-
Trail, Dave and Todd Lamb
some-
probably could have done that.
Yeah,
The Booker Trail grant was over 100 pages long.
Yes, I did one for Brady Lake Township once, and it was well over 100 pages long for a grant. I can't even remember. It's been 20 years probably since I wrote it.
wow.
I've helped written a couple of them too, and it's not easy. The explanation and your reasoning and stuff has got to be correct, because those people that look at them and approve them, they know you can't play around with them too much.
If I may say something, Tammy,
Yes,
I think that someone could learn how to track and manage the grant application. That could be trained to do that. Like I say, some of these things are so detailed, just like Ben said, because the person that's writing it also has to be able to have access to getting all the current rates and estimates, and then probably add what, Ben, your 10 or 15% if it's for next year on what the increases are.
Mhm.
So
Well,
Yes,
then
well-
maybe just somebody who could be like a grant project manager then, or something. Maybe
Absolutely.
not the grant writer, but I do feel like we should have some of that in there. But like having them take meeting minutes and stuff, we've never had a village administrator that has to do meeting minutes.
well, we're trying to step back and save the village money where we can. So we're trying to combine two positions.
Okay, another thing then, this residential inspection thing, and I heard Tammy bring it up at the planning meeting last night. You know, if we're talking about paying somebody possibly a couple $100 for an inspection, where's the village going to come up with that? If you could
Well-
put that into the job description somehow and find somebody who's somewhat qualified to do that, maybe has some maintenance background, that would pay the salary.
Jenny, we weren't paying the person. The village wasn't paying the person. The landlords would be paying the inspector for the
Well,
inspection.
the landlords have to pay $100 the way it's written, and the people that I saw were wanting like 300.
Right, and that was, the $100 was a dollar figure put in. I understand it was before my time. I understand the dollar figure was put in, not knowing what it would cost. So it would have to be amended if we found somebody that did it for 250, 300. The ordinance would have to be amended, correct, Mayor? Yeah, so it wasn't money that the village would ever spend, and nor would the village ever receive money in addition. It would only be what it costs.
So could that be something that the village administrator might be able to do these inspections?
I think that would have to be an addendum added to it at a later date, because we don't know if that person would be interested in it. So I don't think we should add that in. That should be an extra duty if they wanted to take that on.
Yeah, but we don't base a job description on what they want. We base it on what's best for the village.
Well, that's true, and that's something that can be discussed at council.
Yeah,
That-
I'm just
that was-
saying, since it's.
Right,
on
no,
the
I
agenda
know, I
And we
yeah,
talk
you
about
told-
it, then I'm just bringing up some points. We need to
Oh.
start looking at the future of the village.
Right,
What
Especially when
triggers
some
the
people have a
inspection? When
third
does
of
an
their-
inspection need to take place?
I'm
What?
sorry,
How often does an inspection need to happen? Like what triggers an inspection?
I
Every
think
3
like 3 a week or something.
It has to happen every 3 years, Matt. So you've got an apartment in your garage, you know, whatever, every 3 years you'd have to have it inspected.
Right.
Yeah.
That's it. And so then the mayor said what they would do is dole out so many per month, per
we
week,
thought 10 a month.
that the inspector would be doing over the
Right.
course of 3 years. It would just be this rolling 3 years.
That's how many
All
there
of
are?
Hmm?
That's how many there are? Enough to roll 3? Okay.
Well, you wouldn't have to be done for another 3 years. So then the next person wouldn't have to, maybe they didn't get theirs done until July. They wouldn't be for 3 years in July. You know, they could be rolling. So it isn't a full-time job.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, I gotcha. I thought you're saying like by the time the 3 years is up, it's time to start over. I'm like, there's that
No.
many ways to check. Okay.
No, but they could dole it out that long and have it that long. So the last person was finishing, you know,
Right before, yeah.
right. So it could be doled out over 3 years. All the inspections eventually get done.
Yeah.
So it wasn't January, the month of January, you had to do 200 inspections.
Right.
Yeah, so if you had to do 10 a month and each inspection took maybe an hour
Mhm.
or something, I just don't see, I feel like that should be incorporated into the job.
That's 10 hours out of a 40-hour week. I mean, you know,
Out of,
out
You
of
know, a
160
month.
hours a month. Yeah.
yeah,
How many are there? Rental units?
Mayor, how many rental units?
Was it 322
Something like that.
units?
Yeah.
It was more than we had thought.
Okay.
I don't have that figure with me here at home.
Yeah, sure.
So if it was rolled in and we took $100 per, I mean, that pays,
that would pay the salary.
that would pay the salary. That would cover it.
That,
And
well,
without water and sewer, you know, what all is there for this person to do? I mean, you want to make sure that if it's going to be a full-time position, that there's plenty to do.
well, they have to oversee the service department, do the work orders, still do the cemetery, do the purchase requisitions, order merchandise. We're going, because,
Well, that's all Mary Ann's job.
right. Mary Ann's job would be eliminated.
Hence the reason there's the taking the minutes.
That's the two positions we're combining together.
I just don't know that that's a good idea. I mean, looking at the future, our village administrators last like 1 to 3 years. So that person decides they don't want to work here anymore, then we've lost everything. All, you know, it's all in one.
Right, but
I mean,
according to most of the council members, I'm the reason they leave, so. I won't be here in 3 years.
Well,
I don't think-
I'm just saying, I'm just thinking of the big picture instead of putting personalities into this. I just feel
Oh.
like we should look at the good of the village and what's best for the village outlook.
I absolutely agree with you.
Well, I think cost savings is looking out for the village. Number one, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's like we're talking cost savings and then redundancy.
Right. And I think we'll struggle to find a part-time person that will put all their efforts into the village.
Right.
I'd rather pay the village administrator all these things and
I mean, right now, I mean, we have a clerk right now that has probably lost a quarter of her responsibilities, and she still has to find ways to put in 40 hours a week to get her hospitalization. So,
Okay, well here, if we want to address that now, or do you want to address that with?
no, I'm just making that statement. I
Okay,
think that there's
can you-
enough to keep a full-time village administrator busy with combining two jobs.
Yeah, if you're
That's just
gonna
my personal
eliminate,
opinion.
if you're eliminating Mary Ann's job, then yes, and it could be a full-time job.
Mhm.
That's why I would be hesitant to add on the rental inspections as part of the village administrator's job per se. It should still be separate, but if that person chose to want to do it on the side, so to speak.
I'm just throwing it out there.
No, I understand. That's a good suggestion.
Mayor, could it be said if needed rental inspector if we couldn't find someone else? Because right now it's a moot point. We can't go to anybody's homes with
Right.
COVID. So,
We're not gonna be able to get in anybody's house before the end of this year.
The most
Right.
important thing is to make sure the person is qualified to do it.
Exactly.
And that's one of the things that was discussed at
finance.
finance, not enough service. Because it's supposed to be, council had said they wanted someone that was certified. So if someone wanted to do it and a village administrator and doesn't have the certification, we can't, or I wouldn't want to interview somebody and base whether or not they were qualified for the village administrator job just because they weren't already certified. This is something that if we wanted to add it on, is the village willing to pay for their training to become certified? Those are things that have to be discussed with all 6 people next week.
All right.
So I think it's a big discussion. Okay, anybody else? We can move on.
I'm just throwing this out there too. If we're talking about, paying to get people certified to work for the village, we should have them sign some kind of non-compete or something like that. So that they don't receive the training and
Right.
then, Yeah.
And blah, blah.
Remember all that for next week.
yeah.
That's exactly what they'll do. Get the certification and leave.
And maybe village will decide they don't want a certified person. The zoning inspector is perfectly able to do it, But- All right, let's move on to resolution 2021-06. A resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a retroactive location agreement with the Hunting Film LLC relating to filming at various locations owned by the village. Mayor, we didn't already do this?
No, we just did a verbal at the time. And it's taken them this long to get us the paperwork.
I mean,
I
You
got
did it
no-
by motion.
I got no problem with this.
I don't have any issue. Matt?
Nope, no issue whatsoever.
All right, can I get a motion to move this to council?
So moved.
Second,
All those in favor?
Ah,
aye.
All right. 2021-07, an ordinance amending the 2021 appropriations. This is to add the appropriations to the water and sewer to pay the funds to the county and the coronavirus funds.
Yes.
I got no problem with this either.
How much money are we going to be appropriating? Because right now, there's nothing there for water operating and sewer operating. Water capital, sewer capital.
Yeah, it's all on zero. So we'll have the exact dollar amount by the council meeting. We're ironing out those last couple things with the utilities, the gas and electric. But
Okay,
whatever,
will you be appropriating the money to pay the out of water to do the $10,188 at the, or $10,736 to do that, pull that water line down at the park to do that?
those checks are already cut. I had to date those before December 31st.
But that'll be in part of the appropriations, correct? We didn't pay that out of general fund or anything like that.
That's not going to be part of the appropriations. That was last year. So that part is done and over. All we have to do is get the work done, have the village administrator approve it, and then I can send them the check. The check's already cut.
Okay, but yeah, we haven't signed the work authorization yet because we needed council's approval because it was over $3,000.
Well, the check's already cut.
Well, yeah, and I understand that part of it. I just want to make sure that we don't miss any steps by not getting council's approval on that to get that stuff done. Will that include the funding that we just paid Nesco, Jenny? That those 2 invoices for Nesco for the meters? The 33,450 and the 10,188?
We don't pay those. The tax exempt leasing pays those. We
Oh,
just
okay,
approve them
okay,
and they pay it and we pay our quarterly payment, which the county will be taking over.
okay. And then we also did our final check to Envirolink.
Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you. Sorry, Tammy.
No, that's what, you're fine. Anybody else have any questions? All right, can I have a motion to move this to council?
So move.
Second,
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. Discussions. Jenny, you had down here the clerk treasurer position, Linda Schilling's email to council.
Yeah, at the council meeting last month, after we kind of briefly talked about it and said that we would discuss it at finance and service. So I put it on the agenda.
That was-
And
Sorry.
anyway, just to address the comment that Linda made a little bit ago, what happened was when they took the income tax off my plate, the agreement was that I would take over the responsibilities of the assistant clerk, and we eliminated that position. And that was 20 to 30 hours a week. So part of that is the minutes, and I just want to throw it out there. We had 11 extra council meetings this past year that I've had to do minutes for. Plus, with the transition from income tax, it has been busy. I've still put quite a bit of time into income taxes, and I think that's winding down. Like 2021, I don't think it's going to be, a lot of work as far as the taxes goes. And as far as less work because of water and sewer, I don't know that that's going to have much of an impact because I didn't do the billing or anything. Basically, I took the deposit to the bank. And I mean, I had a couple of extra POs to make and a couple of extra checks, which, didn't amount to a lot of time. Once you're entering checks, it's, 1 or 2 more is not a big deal. So I don't know yet, but I don't see where that's going to affect everything a lot. And I don't agree that I think you should be working with me on this. Like Linda made a comment at the service meeting that we don't know who's going to be on council next year and this and that. It shouldn't have anything to do with who's voting. It should have to do with me telling you how many hours it takes to do this job. I mean, I'm not going to take advantage of the citizens of Mantua. If I can't work 40 hours a week and if I run out of things to do, I'm not going to sit here and soak up money. That's when I'll come to council. But for right now, it's been so busy. I've been putting in an easy 40 hours a week. And I think this year is going to be when we're going to figure it out. I mean, this year things should calm down, but like every time we get more grants, there's more work. And, if things calm down, I should be able to tell council, I think this could be a 20 or 30 hour a week job, or maybe it won't. I mean, Hiram, they don't do income taxes and she's 40 hours a week and has a full-time assistant. So, you can't just go by an email. You have to really talk to me and say, what's going on with the job? And I will be honest. So
I think there's some people on this council that needs to talk to Jenny about this. And I've asked you before to do that, and I don't know if any of you have done it, but I think you should talk to her about it. I do. I think I'm asking you again to do that.
there's a lot of filing and stuff that I need to get to. I mean, there's boxes in the office on the floor that Marianne isn't sure what they are, and she's not comfortable throwing stuff out. There are things that I'm going to keep busy probably, through this year. And then after this year, I should really have a good idea So,
Mayor?
I don't think it's more so the question. It has been difficult with Jenny working from home. I understand her reasons why she felt she needed to work from home at the beginning of this. And I understand where a lot of us, because of the merger with the county and everything that's going on, we've all been putting in a lot of excessive hours that we normally wouldn't be putting in. Believe me, I know that. I've never felt that it was a matter necessarily 100% that it was a matter of it should become a part-time position. I have always been a firm believer that it should be a hired position and not an elected position.
I disagree with the mayor on that.
Well, I know you do,
I don't
Ben.
think you should disenfranchise the voters. We had a national election and someone tried to disenfranchise the voters. The Congress of the United States and the courts of the United States said no. And that's my opinion also.
Well, and you're entitled to your opinion, Ben, and so am I.
You are too, Ms.
Jenny, when does your commission go to?
it goes till March 31st, 2024. And according to Michelle, nothing can change until January
time.
1st, 2024.
That's right.
January 1st. But I'm, like I said before, if I'm not able to keep busy, I will come to council and I'll tell you, I don't think this is a full-time job. You know,
think
and
that's fair.
we
I mean-
can readdress it, but
I
I don't
think
want to,
other than the benefits, especially hospitalization, that it's not a full-time job.
And,
Right.
and to clarify what I said at the service meeting was, there was no sense in discussing it with just 3 members of council at this time, because we have 4 members that are up for reelection. You guys could get into, excuse my language, a piss and mats to try and change something now and have 4 new people come in next year that would say, no, this is not what we want to do. So you might as well wait until after the 4 people are either reelected or new people are in place to even discuss it. That is what I said at service.
yeah, I don't think this is the time. I think we should.
No,
I don't think until 2024 it needs to be discussed. I mean, or your next election, you know, when do we?
it
change-
needs to be done if it's going to be addressed before
Right.
May of the end of her term,
Right, but until then,
because after May, if something is not in place, then it stays exactly how it is, except for changing possible wages.
right, so we've got a couple more years before we have. to-
Right. That's why I said, I think it should be discussed between all of you together. I would not recommend making any changes at this time.
Correct.
And Jenny can be included in that because again, as she said, she'll be telling you. I mean, and I have no proof of this. This is what I was told, Jenny, so it's strictly gossip, rumor, the way it runs in Manaway. We all know how that runs rampant. That you had made the statement that after this year and everything settles down, you're only going to be having to spend 2 hours a day on village business besides your meetings. I mean, that's what I was told you said. And I
That's
said, well, I am not going to bring that up at a public meeting.
Yet
per
you
se,
just
at a
did.
council-
You just did. That's
Just
right.
did. That's the most ridiculous thing. I've never said anything like that.
Well,
mean-
and like I said, I'm just saying, by gossip, I don't know if it's true and I can't prove it, but I'm
No.
just letting you know. That's
Yeah.
what someone said you told them,
That I would work 2 hours a day.
that you would only need to be putting in 2 hours a day.
That's a lie. That's ridiculous.
Well,
Mayor, you've been trying to do this since you became mayor, even when you were a council member. You talked about it. I got something down here on one of my keys.
All right, are we ready to move on?
Well,
can
well,
talk
what,
more
my comments about this is, Jenny, honestly, this is going to come up several times over the course of the year. You know, it just is. And I want you to know that you just, this isn't about Jenny August, the person. You know, Manaway Village loves Jenny August. This is specifically about the position of the village clerk. And I just want to make that very clear, that any discussions about this position is about the position itself and not about the person. So please.
That's not so, sir. I have nothing else to say about it. Everybody knows my position on it.
Do we have any other new or other business to discuss?
Either one of you got a couple of thousand you could give me?
Not today. Ask me tomorrow. Ask me tomorrow.
Did
Are
you go out
everybody-
and buy one of those big Mega Million tickets or whatever they were for?
You never know what the stock market's gonna do. Just saying, you know. Are you ready to adjourn at 6:42?
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Ah,
Bye.
you guys have a good evening.
Good
Good night,
night.
everyone.
See everybody Tuesday.